Welcome to Apologia Online Academy Course Introduction for General Science. I'm Mrs. Capra, and I'm delighted to be with you today as we talk about our course, General Science. This is a textbook that will be needed for the course. It's a third edition. You will also need the solution and test manual, which will have answers for some of the questions that are in the textbook, and also the test. And you'll also need the student notebook, which has a space right here in the very end for each module, which is like a chapter, modules, that has a space for all the answers to the questions that are asked in the textbook. And at the very back, you can document your experiments. So it's a very handy, very handy tool. This is a transition course between leaving elementary and going into middle school. I have had some high school students in it also, but it's basically designed for a middle school age group. The book itself goes through the history of science, how to document scientific information, the scientific method, goes through astronomy, meteorology, oceanography, talks about general physics, general biology, general chemistry, and environmental science, and also much more. It's a very thorough beginning course for students. It's a great course. Also, it is also a course that lends itself into learning how to learn online, and I walk through that. I explain to the students how to go to a Canvas account that we have, that they do their assignments in and they do their testing in that area. So it's a very useful course, even leading a student into knowing how to do an online course. So going back to the experiments, the experiment supplies are listed right here in the very back of the textbook on page 411, and it has supplies that are usually very typically being found in your home or at a local store, not very difficult supplies. And so I was going to walk you through one experiment which is found in module 3 and talking about density. And so density can be a very difficult subject for some students to understand the very beginning of their formal science learning. And density is the amount of mass in a specified space. So that definition can already pose some questions. What does that mean? So the experiment is quite simple. Get two containers, two glasses, that they'll fill up with the same amount of tap water. And they're going to identify if tap water or salt water is more dense. So they have it all set up, and they take their tap water glass and they put an egg in it, and they see obviously the egg sinks. So the egg is denser than the water. Then the experiment says to go on and add salt to the water, teaspoon by teaspoon. And as you do, you're supposed to put an egg in there, and you're supposed to see how many teaspoons of salt does it take for the egg to start to float. And they document that. Often they also learn how to do a graph. So they actually learn how to document in a table and then how to do a graph. And so you see a graph behind me. There's bar graphs, line graphs, and also the circle graph here behind me. So we're learning all kinds of ways of documenting. And it's a really, again, a foundational course on how to not only do the experiment correctly, but then actually document it also correctly, so that someone could actually repeat their experiment and see how they got those results. So it's very fun and exciting. Then a lot of times I go ahead and find a video or something else that might be interesting for the students to view after they've done the experiment. And so one of the experiments for this one was I had a video about the Dead Sea. Now the Dead Sea is located between Israel and Jordan. Of course, it's an inland saltwater lake, and so people are able to float in it because the water is denser than the people are floating. So the scientist decided he wanted to roll a bowling ball in it, and so the students got to watch as the scientist did a couple experiments how to get the right weight and make a chute down to the water, and he actually rolled a bowling ball right into the Dead Sea and it floated. So it sort of ties it in, making it more interesting for the students, these more difficult concepts, to make it more manageable. So that's how it works here with the experiments, and it's a wonderful course, again, a wonderful introductory course. Well, thank you for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this introduction to general science. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.